FY 2020 Action Plan for HUD Approval. The resolution is sponsored by Mr. Cologne and Dr. Van Wert.
Mr. Cologne?
Thank you, President Waldron. I just want to turn to Mr. Spurk, our solicitor, quick. At the committee meeting, and I think since then in some conversations things have come up. Mr. Spurk, can you just, as most of us on council, if not all of us, belong to the food co-op, do you see any conflict with us voting to support them receiving CDBG money?
I do not. I think that, it's my understanding, I think 6 of the council members at least are members of the food co-op. The significance under the Ethics Act would be not so much membership. I don't understand that there is anybody who's an officer or director, but as a member, you're also a part owner. I think there's something like 660 households, something like that. So the proportionate percentage of ownership would be extremely small. In the Ethics Act, the percentage of ownership has to be 5%. It would be a conflict of interest. Ethics Act limits that to businesses for profit, because typically nonprofits don't have ownership. However, the Ethics Act also contains language to the effect that there's no conflict of interest if the financial interest is de minimis, that is to say has an insignificant economic impact. It's my understanding that the money that's put in initially to become a member doesn't grow like a stock or something like that for a corporation, but rather would be the same amount that you would take out. I understand there's a financial benefit to some discounts and perhaps some other things similar to like a bonus card at Giant or something like that. You would have earned something, but it's my opinion that that would be similarly of insignificant economic impact. And as a complete backstop, when there are 6 members who would potentially have to abstain, the Ethics Act provides that everybody can vote. Otherwise, the government body would not be able to act. So, yeah, I'm confident that all members can vote without any conflict.
Thank you, Mr. Spurk, for that clarification. And that being said, I will be supporting the food co-op, or what's in front of us today, including the support for the food co-op. And thanks again for everybody for coming out tonight and hanging out this long with us. Thank you.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yeah, and just one other comment about last at the committee meeting, I pulled out my number 41 card, but I'm also in search of getting a next card, which is a number 1 card, and I had this conversation with Colleen and several people several months ago, and I understand why it's not at the top of the list. But also the way that the ownership works is that one day, if the food co-op is profitable and produces a certain amount of money, you get a dividend based on how much you use the particular co-op. And generally, if you look at co-ops around the country that have also gotten CDBG funding, those dividends, obviously it would depend how much you spend there, but you're looking at a small amount of money. But even with that being said, and even if this conversation never happened, I already talked to Natalie, so I don't have to call her, is that the dividend one day for our house, I just want going back into the co-op anyway. Education programs, working with TJ and William Penn, and whatever that might be. That's my personal opinion. That would be my personal opinion outside of this, is that the benefit of this is not just about, me saving money, but it's about that whatever that profit would be, I would want going back into. And I know Colleen has said that she's talked to the officers about how to develop that program. Obviously, we're a couple of years away from that even being an issue. But I know when I've had conversations with other members of City Council, it's been a similar thought. But that's just one comment on the dividend. And as Mr. Spurk said, it's correct that when you buy your share, your ownership, whatever it might be, however much, and I think when I originally bought it was a couple $100, is if I ever decide not to be a member, I get that couple $100 back, the same amount that I paid in. It's not a stock, it doesn't grow, and things like that, which I do think is important as far as that's concerned. So just one comment there on the dividend. Just a couple other 30-second comments. I want to thank everybody for coming out. The fact that people wait here for 3 hours to watch us vote yes, which I think they probably knew was coming, is symbolic of the way the co-op has grown. And I think that, watching the co-op grow from when I became number 41 in July of 2013, I believe was when first started, it's not a sprint, it's not a 5K, but it's a marathon. And it is a testament to how you grow a community. We've talked a lot about Touchstone Theater and their festival, and one of the things they talked about is how do we create a new identity. And new identities aren't created quickly. They're created with projects like the co-op, as far as bringing people together that have similar interests from different parts of our city, whether or not they be demographically, racially, geographically, and things like that. So I will be supporting this. It is a huge project for the city. I think the biggest project that we have going. It's a huge part of, potentially where they go in Northside 2027. And it's something that I know most people in this room are members of, and I will be supporting. Thank you.
Mr. Callahan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank everybody that has worked so hard over the years. I think I've been a member 5-6 years now, and Ms. Ritter met me over at Apollo, and she was very influential. And as I'm sure all of you know, but she's a hell of a salesperson. And I want to thank all of you for all the hard work you've done over the years, and I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Dr. Van
Just very briefly, I too am very happy you all came out, and I'm always awed by your indefatigable energy towards this cause. I am very sensitive to concerns from citizens over conflict of interest as much as I am comforted by Mr. Spurk's findings. I did reach out to Mr. Allen, who's the chair of the co-op, and along the lines of what Mr. Reynolds said, I will be relinquishing all my dividends back to the co-op to be reinvested into the co-op and other low-income families who might be able to benefit, just because it's really important. Even if there isn't a true conflict of interest, the appearance of a conflict of interest is worth noting and addressing, and so that's why I decided to do that. But most of all, thank you all very much for everything that you've done. I'm a strong supporter of the co-op, and I think it's going to change a big part of our city, so thank you.
Thank you, President Waldron. I am going to say that from day one, when I heard about the co-op, my eyes just lit up. But I'm probably the one member of council that is not a member of the co-op, not because I don't support it, but because I didn't have one penny when I was approached to be a member of the co-op. But I am a very supportive of it. I can't wait until we have something in there. Saying that, I want to go back to the first comments that Mr. Gallagher mentioned. And I really thank you for what you said, because you mentioned that your family is a supportive, you have been supportive in your blog talking about it, yet you want to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the ducks and row. And I think that we heard that from everybody. Even though I'm not in the committee, in the economic development, I try to be at every meeting because it's a topic that is extremely important to me. And due to other commitment, I couldn't be here last time. However, I with all my heart trust the judgment of the committee. And again, all T's are crossed and all ducks and row. I definitely have to support this resolution. Thank you, President Walker.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. DeGrone?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Dr. Van Wert?
Aye.
Mr. Callahan?
Aye.
Mr. Cologne?
Aye.
Mr. Cramsey-Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Waldron?
Aye. Passes 7-0. Resolution 10K,